These are the first pictures of former Russian double agent Sergei Skripal's smiling daughter, who is suspected to have been poisoned alongside him. Yulia Skripal, 33, who has been named in reports, was discovered slumped on a bench near a shopping center next to her dad on Sunday afternoon. She is understood to have been visiting Britain from her Russian home. Today, she and Skripal, 66, both remain critically ill in hospital after being exposed to what police described as an unknown substance. In one newly unearthed image, Yulia can be seen posing in the sunshine, with her eyebrows raised and some of her red hair covering her face. Were you near the scene at the time? Email webnews@mirror.co.uk. Yulia Skripal was discovered slumped on a bench beside her ex-spy dad, Sergei Skripal. Skripal, 66, is critically ill in hospital following the suspected poisoning. Image, Reuters. CCTV shows a couple walking in the area where the father and daughter were found minutes later. Image, PA, who is Sergei Skripal? Russian double agent given refuge in UK and spy swap, dressed in summery clothes. She smiles at the camera. In a second shot, she is captured in another pose, with her hair a different shade. According to the young woman's social media profile, she lives in Moscow. However, her Facebook cover photo is a snap of Salisbury Cathedral. The image was posted on the social network in March 2012, with Yulia confirming to a pal that it showed the famous Anglican cathedral. It comes amid claims her ex-spy father had been in fear of his life after both his wife and son were killed in car crashes within just 5 years. Skripal's wife, Ludmila, reportedly died in 2012, just a year after he purchased their £350,000 semi-detached home in Salisbury, Wiltshire. Another picture of Yulia, showing her hair a different shade. Image, Facebook. Skripal was convicted in 2006 of passing state secrets to MI6. Image, Reuters. The former spy lived in Salisbury after being granted refuge in the UK. Image, Daily Mirror. The scene where the ex-spy and his daughter were found unconscious on Sunday. Image, Daily Mirror. He used to live with his wife, but unfortunately she died in a car accident a while ago, neighbor Blake Stevens, 24, told the Daily Mail. The ex-spy's wife was buried in the UK following the tragedy. Then, last year, his son, Yulia's brother, is thought to have also lost his life in a car crash aged 43 while holidaying in Russia. Further details surrounding both incidents are currently unclear. The son was also reportedly buried in Britain, after being repatriated. Blake told the newspaper Skripal had lived at the property with his Russian son and his son's partner, following Ludmila's death. Skripal was exposed to what police described as an unknown substance. Image, Reuters. A map showing the scenes around the medieval cathedral. City officers were also standing guard at the Mill pub in Salisbury. Image, Daily Mirror. He added, "We didn't speak to them much." It is claimed that Skripal had recently gone to police expressing fears for his life, although this remains unconfirmed. The former spy was given refuge in Britain after he was exchanged in 2010 for Russian spies caught in the West as part of a Cold War-style spy swap on the tarmac of Vienna airport. But he and a woman, identified by the BBC as his daughter Yulia, were found unconscious on the bench shortly after 4 p.m. 2 days ago. Skripal was seen performing strange hand movements and staring up at the sky before he was rushed to hospital from the scene. The pair were left fighting for their lives in intensive care, and Wiltshire police today confirmed they were still in critical conditions. Temporary Assistant Chief Constable Craig Holden said the man and woman were being treated for suspected exposure to an unknown substance. He added that they did not have any visible injuries. This afternoon, police said that, due to the unusual circumstances, the counter-terrorism network will be leading the investigation. They also confirmed that a number of emergency services personnel were also admitted to hospital following the incident. The BBC reported that 2 police officers were hospitalized with minor symptoms, believed to include itchy eyes and wheezing. Market Walk, where Skripal is believed to have walked before collapsing. Image, Daily Mirror. Skripal is a former colonel in the Russian military intelligence. Image, Reuters. The officers are said to have been released later the same day. In a statement, Wiltshire police said, "We can confirm that a small number of emergency services personnel were assessed immediately after the incident and all but one have been released from hospital." The force added that the Bishop's Mill pub in the Maltings had been sealed off, along with a Zeitz restaurant on Castle Street. "As part of our inquiries, a number of scenes have been secured," the statement said. These include the Zeitz restaurant on Castle Street, and the Bishop's Mill pub in the Maltings. At this time, we cannot confirm how long these cordons will remain in place. It continued, the advice from Public Health England remains that based on the evidence to date, currently there doesn't appear to be any immediate risk to public health. Police activity around the Maltings shopping area. Image, Daily Mirror. A spokesman for President Vladimir Putin called the situation in Salisbury a tragic incident, and said of British media speculation that Russia poisoned Skripal, it didn't take them long. The incident has drawn comparisons with the death of Russian dissident Alexander Litvinenko, who was poisoned with radioactive polonium-210 in London in 2006. Shadow Home Secretary Diane Abbott told BBC Radio Fuzz today, "It's important not to speculate without knowing everything about it, but it does bear a striking similarity to the death of Litvinenko, who was poisoned by the Russian state, and before that Markov, who was killed bizarrely by somebody stabbing him with an umbrella with poison on the tip." The Labour frontbencher said she would write to Home Secretary Amber Rudd to ask what assurances she can provide if it does prove to be the case that the Russian state is involved. A spokesman for President Vladimir Putin called the situation a tragic incident. Image, Getty Images. Europe. I don't like defaulting to a red menace analysis, but we can't allow London and the home counties to become a kind of killing field for the Russian state and its enemies, she said. Meanwhile, Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson told MPs that the UK would respond appropriately and robustly should evidence emerge that implies state involvement in the apparent poisoning of the pair. The Kremlin has repeatedly denied any involvement in the killing of Litvinenko. Skripal and Yulia were found slumped on a bench near a children's play area, close to the Maltings shopping centre, in the medieval cathedral city shortly after 4 p.m. Emergency crews attended the scene after receiving a call from a member of the public who was concerned for the welfare of two people, police said. Police outside Skripal's home. Image, Daily Mirror. Eyewitness Freya Church talks to press near the scene. Image, Solent News. A number of scenes in Salisbury were cordoned off, including Skripal's home, the Zeitz restaurant and the pub. Some have been decontaminated, but police and Public Health England have assured the public that they are not at risk. Skripal was convicted in 2006 of passing state secrets to MI6 and betraying dozens of agents before being given refuge in the UK. A tent set up over the bench near the Maltings shopping centre. Image, Daily Mirror. Local police are being assisted by counter-terror investigators. Image, Daily Mirror. The former colonel in Russia's GRU military intelligence service, who was sentenced to 13 years in prison, was among 4 convicts who were given pardons and one of 2 sent to Britain in 2010 in a deal that was said at the time to be the largest exchange since the Cold War. Wiltshire police said it has not been declared a counter-terrorism incident, but they are keeping an open mind. Met Police Assistant Commissioner Mark Rowley, the UK's top counter-terror officer, said his investigators are helping the investigation of what caused the illness. He told the BBC, "It's a very unusual case and the critical thing is to get to the bottom of what's caused these illnesses as quickly as possible." Police say they are keeping an open mind during their investigation. Image, Daily Mirror. The former spy was found with an unidentified woman, believed to be known to him. Image, Daily Mirror. Who is Sergei Skripal? Russian double agent given refuge in UK and spy swap. If necessary, we will bring that investigation into the counter-terrorism network. We're doing all the things you would expect us to do. We are speaking to witnesses. We're taking forensic samples at the scene. We're doing toxicology work, and that will help us to get to an answer. I can't say any more at this stage. Eyewitness Freya Church told the BBC it looked like the 2 people on the bench had taken something quite strong, and she felt motivated to help, but she wasn't sure how to. She said, on the bench there was a couple, an older guy and a younger girl. She was sort of leant in on him. It looked like she had passed out maybe. Ms. Church says it appeared the pair had taken something quite strong. Image, BBC. Officers at one of the scenes. Image, Daily Mirror. Skripal and his daughter were found on a bench. Image, PA. He was doing some strange hand movements, looking up to the sky. They looked so out of it I thought even if I did step in I wasn't sure how I could help. Eyewitness Georgia Pridham, 25, saw the couple slumped on the bench as she returned to her car after a hen-do lunch. She told The Telegraph, "He was quite smartly dressed, which caught my eye. He had his palms up to the sky as if he was shrugging and was staring at the building in front of him. He had a woman sat next to him on the bench who was slumped on his shoulder. She looked grey and had her hood up." Police outside the former Russian spy's home in Salisbury. Image, Daily Mirror. Officers were also at the Zeitz restaurant in Salisbury. Image, Adam Gerard. Daily Mirror. She figured the pair were on something, and found it odd that the man was staring dead straight. He added, he was conscious but it was like he was frozen and he was slightly rocking back and forward. Yulia, who was slumped on her dad's shoulder, was named in reports this morning, as a CCTV image emerged. The image, showing a man and woman walking through an alleyway connecting the Zitza restaurant and the bench where Skripal and his daughter were found, is believed to be of interest to police. Police took away an image, shot at 3:47 p.m. on Sunday, of apparent footage from a camera at Snap Fitness 24/7, according to the gym's manager, who showed the footage to the press association. Police were at the restaurant overnight. Image, Adam Gerard, Daily Mirror. The moment Skripal was arrested by Russia's Secret Service in 2004. Image, Reuters. Speaking to PA, Ms. Church, 27, said the couple in the CCTV images were 100% the people she saw on Sunday. She said, his eyes were glazed. To be honest, I thought they were just homeless. Kane Prince, 28, said, police had a good look at the footage and were interested in these two people. It was the only image they took away. They wanted a list of everyone in the gym between 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. as well. Mr. Prince added police said Skripal was wearing a green coat. Igor Satyagin, who was part of the same spy swap as Skripal, said he is not worried for his safety as the former colonel fights for his life. The restaurant was secured as a precaution on Monday night. Image, Adam Gerard, Daily Mirror. Moscow has said it is ready to help British investigators. Image, Daily Mirror. Mr. Satyagin, a senior research fellow at the Royal United Services Institute in London, told The Times, I feel okay, I am not concerned. Skripal's neighbors have told how he was quiet, dressed casually and drove a BMW, and police have been at his home since 5 p.m. on Sunday. Hours after the ex-spy and his daughter arrived for treatment, Salisbury District Hospital declared a major incident amid fears for those who may have been exposed to the same substance. An area outside the scene in the Maltings was decontaminated by workers in yellow hazardous material suits on Sunday evening and police remained there Monday night with a forensic tent erected over the bench. Officers have cordoned off a number of scenes in Wiltshire. Image, Daily Mirror. A spokesman for Public Health England said anyone exposed to the unknown substance had been decontaminated, as is standard practice in situations like this. Meanwhile, police were still at the Zitza restaurant this morning after it was closed in the wake of the contamination scare linked to the former Russian double agent. An officer sat in an unmarked car outside the premises, which was secured as a precaution, last night. Officers in regular uniforms and plain clothes spoke to staff inside and worked in tents in the area where the pair were found. Police stand near the bench where Skripal and Yulia were found. Image, Getty. A police vehicle can be seen outside Skripal's home. Image, Solent News. Mr. Holden said, the pair, who we believe are known to each other, did not have any visible injuries and were taken to Salisbury District Hospital. This has not been declared as a counter-terrorism incident and we would urge people not to speculate. However, I must emphasize that we retain an open mind and we will continue to review this position. Putin's spokesman, Dmitry Peskov, said UK authorities haven't approached Moscow for any assistance, but added it was ready to help if Britain asked for it. Salisbury District Hospital declared a major incident. Image, PA, he added, nobody has approached us with such a request. Moscow is always open for cooperation, calling the incident a tragic situation. He said the Kremlin did not have information about what had happened. He added, we don't have information about what the reason for the incident could be, what this person was doing, and what it could be linked to. He said he did not know whether Skripal was still formally a Russian national. A spokesman for the Russian embassy in London said earlier, neither relatives nor legal representatives of the said person, nor the British authorities have addressed the embassy in this regard. A forensic tent over a bench where the man and woman were found. Image, Getty. Skripal was arrested in 2004 by Russia's Federal Security Service, FSB, on suspicion of betraying dozens of Russian agents to British intelligence. He was sentenced to 13 years in prison in 2006 after a secret trial. Skripal, who was at the time shown wearing a tracksuit in a cage in court during the sentencing, had admitted betraying agents to MI6 in return for more than £100,000 after being recruited in 1995. But he was pardoned in 2010 by then-President Dmitry Medvedev as part of a swap to bring 10 Russian agents held in the U.S. back to Moscow. The swap, one of the biggest since the Cold War ended in 1991, took place on the tarmac of Vienna Airport where a Russian and a U.S. jet parked side by side before the agents were exchanged. Skripal is arrested by Russia's Federal Security Service, FSB, in 2004. Image, Reuters. Russian national Anna Chapman was involved in the spy swap. Image, AFP, among the Russian agents deported from the U.S. as part of the spy swap deal was Manhattan socialite and diplomat's daughter Anna Chapman, 36, who was married to a British man and lived in London for several years. She was one of 10 who tried to blend into American society in an apparent bid to get close to power brokers and learn secrets. They were arrested by the FBI in 2010. The returning Russian spies were greeted as heroes in Moscow. Putin, himself a former KGB officer who served in what was then East Germany, sang patriotic s with them. Skripal, though, was cast as a traitor by Moscow. He is thought to have done serious damage to Russian spy networks in Britain and Europe. Alexander Litvinenko was poisoned with radioactive polonium-210. Image, Getty Images. Europe. Since finding refuge in Britain, Skripal lived quietly in Salisbury and kept out of the spotlight until he and the women were found unconscious on Sunday. The GRU spy service, created in 1918 under revolutionary leader Leon Trotsky, is controlled by the military general staff and reports directly to the president. It has spies spread across the world. While the incident in Salisbury is shrouded in mystery, it comes at a time of major tension in UK-Russian relations. A report from the Commons Foreign Affairs Committee last year describing the relationship between the two countries as being at its most strained point since the end of the Cold War. And in evidence to the Commons Intelligence and Security Committee, MI6 described the Russian state as formidable adversaries. Russian whistleblower Alexander Perepilichny was found dead in Britain in 2012. Image, YouTube, CNN. In 2006, Mr. Litvinenko, 43, died after drinking tea laced with radioactive polonium-210 at London's Millennium Hotel. A public inquiry concluded in 2016 that the killing of Litvinenko, an outspoken Putin critic, had probably been carried out with the approval of the Russian president. The Kremlin denies any involvement in the death of Litvinenko, who fled Russia for Britain 6 years to the day before he was poisoned. Another Russian, Alexander Perepilichny, who had been helping a Swiss investigation into a Russian money laundering scheme, was found dead after going out for a jog near his family's home in Weybridge, Surrey in 2012. The home of Skripal, which has been sealed off by cops. Image, Daily Mirror. Police ruled out foul play despite suspicions he might have been murdered with a rare poison. An inquest has yet to give a definitive conclusion as to how he died. In a statement about the Salisbury incident today, Wiltshire Police confirmed both Skripal and Yulia remain in a critical condition. Our thoughts are with their families, the force said. It added, the public are likely to continue to see an increased police and emergency services presence in the city centre today to provide reassurance. We continue to work with a range of partner agencies, including counter-terrorism, policing, Public Health England and Salisbury District Hospital. Police are working with counter-terrorism policing following the incident. Image, PA. We have access to a wide range of specialist resources and services that are helping us to understand what we are or aren't dealing with at this time. We would continue to appeal to any members of the public who may have information in relation to this incident to contact us immediately via 101 or 999. We would like to reassure members of the public that incidents of this nature are taken extremely seriously. We would like to take this opportunity to thank members of the public who have assisted us so far and respected the cordons which remain in place. Poisoning is the FSB's method of choice. A former associate of Litvinenko has alleged the Salisbury incident bears the hallmarks of a state-ordered assassination. Yuri Felshtinsky co-authored a book with Litvinenko called Blowing Up Russia in 2001, years before he was poisoned in a plot suspected of being authorized by Mr. Putin. The historian had originally helped the murdered spy and his family escape from Russia, according to the official report into the death. He said in a statement, poisoning is the method of choice for the FSB, Russian Federal Security Service. A tent covers the park bench where Skripal and his daughter were discovered on Sunday. Image, Reuters. In the context of the Russian presidential election, this has all hallmarks of a Putin assassination. He is warning anyone in the FSB never to defect as they'll be hunted down and killed. It is also a sharp warning to any political opponent not to pose a real challenge in any way to the president. The underlying atmosphere of terror in Russia means that even mere speculation serves its purpose, even if there was a different cause here. As in this case, Sergei Skripal was a colonel in the FSB like Alexander Litvinenko. The FSB always kills defectors as a loyalty warning to its agents. The chairman of the House of Commons Foreign Affairs Committee, Tom Tugendhat, said that if Russian involvement was proved, the Skripal case would amount to a further salvo in soft war against the UK, conducted by Mr. Putin's administration. Skripal is pictured behind bars during a hearing at the Moscow District Court in 2006. Image, TASS. It is too early to say whether it is certain or not, but it certainly bears all the hallmarks of a Russian attack, Mr. Tugendhat told the press association. If it is, then I am calling for a whole-of-government response. Too much of this has been left to the Foreign Office or the Home Office separately. What needs to be done is for the whole government to get involved in responding to what amounts to a soft war against the UK, taking in the cybering they have done in the various aggressions they have been involved in. Mr. Tugendhat said that the eventual response to any Russian involvement in the Skripal case could include travel bans, sanctions and the imposition of Magnitsky sanctions legislation allowing the assets of human rights violators to be frozen in the UK. Another shot of the scene in Salisbury, as the ex-spy and his daughter continue to fight for their lives. Image, Getty Images Europe. Meanwhile, Bill Browder, an anti-corruption campaigner, said the UK authorities were paying the price for their failure to take firm action following the killing of Litvinenko. Mr. Browder, who is fighting for justice following the death of his lawyer Sergei Magnitsky in a Russian prison cell in 2009, said, "We don't know much, but based on the headlines from yesterday, who the person was, his relationship with the Kremlin, and the circumstances of his collapse, the first operating assumption should be that this was an assassination attempt by the Kremlin against a traitor of Russia." He added, "It should be treated with the utmost seriousness in terms of law enforcement resources. Putin has publicly said that he kills traitors wherever they are in the world. Again, we don't know what exactly happened here, but assuming he was poisoned, then the most likely theory to pursue would be a Kremlin assassination plot similar to Litvinenko, woman, 33, fighting for life alongside Russian spy after poisoning, named as his daughter." Mr. Browder, a leading critic of the Putin regime who was in Westminster to give evidence to a parliamentary committee on fake news, also claimed the consequences of the Litvinenko inquiry were laughably inadequate and basically have given the Russian government and Vladimir Putin a green light to do more hits on UK. If it is determined that he was poisoned and there is a reasonable amount of evidence to show that it came from Russia, then the Achilles heel of the Putin regime is to go after Putin-connected oligarchs in the UK by seizing their assets.